Hello, Tom Kenney here. Welcome to the Director's Notebook for our 2022 Kenney Family Productions film, Heist and Re-Heist. First, I'm going to give you a short background, then we'll view the entire movie with my comments along the way. There is a lot to say. In 2021, last year, when we filmed The Musings of the Band, I really didn't have an idea for the movie until just a couple weeks before we started filming. So this year I thought I'd do a little bit better. Before the end of 2021, I had a pretty good idea of what we were going to do. By early in 2022, I had a very workable first draft of the script. What I wanted to do this time was get everybody in the movie. That's from my 93-year-old mother down to my youngest granddaughter, who is still less than 1 year old. What I wanted to do was give Mom a pretty big part, just because she is 93 years old. Then Matt came up with the idea of doing a heist movie. I thought that was a great idea, so I ran with that. When I started, I had a list of things that I wanted to stick into a movie someday. One of them was this opening shot here of Cedar Rapids from Mount Trashmore. I just thought it looked cool. The musical piece here is called Unwritten Return, and I will use it later in the movie again. This first scene was actually the first scene that we filmed. It was shot after a day of golfing on a very windy day. We picked an open parking lot in North Liberty, not far from Eric and Randy's house, and this was shot pretty much shot for shot as I drew it up. Eric would get this prop out of the back of the car and assemble it kind of haphazardly, and assuming that he was doing it right. Eric ad-libbed the part of pulling out something that looked like directions and then just throwing them back into the back of the car. I really like this prop. I put it together quite a while before we filmed the movie, and it just sat in the garage all assembled. And I'm sure lots of people saw it and wondered what it was, but figured it was a movie prop. This musical piece is called Wah Game Blue. Kind of a weird name, but I liked it, and I really thought it fit this scene. Randy and Eric's names are Betty and Clyde. I picked those names just because they sounded like Bonnie and Clyde. All of the shots in the car were shot with two cameras, one pointing inside each window. There's a long story behind this. I was going to use all the audio from my best microphone on one camera and then just edit back and forth between the two video shots, but didn't realize till I got home that I had never actually hooked up the microphone to the camera. So all of this audio came from the two in-camera microphones, which really aren't that good. I thought we were going to have to reshoot everything. We just turned both cameras on and then just let them roll as we did all kinds of stuff, including the built-in outtakes with the do the math line. And for the most part, these two guys really acted well, just acting like they were actually listening in on somebody's conversation, even though they had no idea what the conversation was that they were listening to. And of course, Eric likes minimal directed movement. Pay close attention to Mom's acting throughout this whole scene. I thought she was really, really good. She had so many lines that we didn't have her memorize everything. We just wrote it on cue cards, and she just read them. But she didn't look like she was reading them. She actually acted. I really like the way Kelly delivers this line as he's pointing to the falcon.
Now, what can you tell me about this big black bird?
As Mom starts her story here, the music is called The Teller of Tales. I thought that really fit this scene. Most of the beginning of this story is pretty much the story that goes with the actual Maltese falcon in the movie and in the book.
V of Spain, with a statue of a falcon entrusted in jewels.
Then here I started in with my own history of the falcon, and pretty much this whole story is
The
word for
Maltese
word
Falcon spent
what Matt's
the next
speech
few
was
years
in Fallen
traveling around
Treasure,
Europe,
because we are talking
either
about
being
the
sold,
exact
traded,
same
or
Falcon.
stolen.
Here, as Mom gives the history of the Falcon, traveling around Europe and across the ocean and getting to America, she gets up
It survived
and
the
travels
sinking of the
across the
Titanic
room
on
to
the
tell
way
part
to
of the story.
America. It showed up in
It was
San
actually fun to
Francisco
cut back
in
and forth
1941,
and put in
and then
scenes
it
of
turned
Eric
up
and
in
Randy.
the hands of
Because
Alfred
again, they had no
H.
idea
Gutman
what kind of
in the
conversation they were
60s.
listening to.
He was
So
kind of
some of these shots
ultra-rich,
just seemed to fit.
kind of like Howard Hughes. No family, no friends. This is a picture of
I
my
really
husband,
like these
Mike,
4 pictures
and the
of
4
Dad
brothers
and my
during
uncles
World War II.
that Kathy Welch had framed and given to
1966.
several of us cousins.
They took a road
I had to
trip
throw it into a movie
California for
as
the
soon as
wedding
I got it.
of the youngest of the 4.
I also love this picture
Here are
of
the
Dad
4
and his
brothers
brothers
looking like
at
Vegas
Uncle Con's
monsters.
wedding. So I wanted to throw that
It
picture
was in the
movie
back
too.
road, someplace in the desert outside Las Vegas, that they came across a lonely old man whose car was
I actually
broken
stole
down.
this part from another movie
Mike stayed
about
with him
a
to
guy
keep company,
meeting Howard
while the other
Hughes
ones
in the
went to get
desert
parts and
and
gas.
helping him somewhere. And it just happened to fit the
In
timeline.
1967,
Khan's wedding
old man,
was somewhere around the
MacGuffin
time
himself,
that our
removed the
MacGuffin
jewels
in this
and hid
story
them so that nobody
happened
else
to
could
take the
find them.
jewels off of the Falcon. Now the fact here that Mom mentions that
Then he sent
Dad
the
had a
statue
gift
to Mike
for
as a
melding
thank you
fact and fiction
for that
together and
engaging
making up a really good
conversation that
story
they had the year
is
before in the desert.
absolutely the way I remember
That's
Dad
fascinating.
when I was a
What did they
kid.
talk about?
I don't know. I have no idea. But you know, Mike, he had this gift of melding fact and fiction and making up some really good stories.
When I first started with the idea of
much
making
do
a
you think
heist
it was
movie,
worth?
I thought of the Falcon right away.
I don't
And
know.
the fact that somebody
I just
would
couldn't
misinterpret
possibly
something
put a
to mean that it's
price on that.
priceless was one of the first thoughts that I had.
Priceless?
I threw in the radio static just to show that Eric and Randy's characters were not getting all
far as
the
I know,
information.
the
And
jewels
some of
have
the
never been
shots of them
found.
just acting fit right in. They didn't know that they were listening to static and
And
not
there's
getting
no
what they were supposed
document
to be
to
getting.
authenticate the Falcon's history. It really has no monetary value now. It's still my most valuable piece.
Other notes. Kelly's character
Wait,
is
did she
Mr.
say
Archer. In the
priceless?
movie, The Maltese Falcon,
Or
Miles Archer
couldn't
was
put a
the
price
partner
on it
of
because it isn't
Humphrey
worth
Bogart's character. And of course, Mom's name, Arizona Jones, was a take on Indiana Jones. And I didn't really know who would play
Well,
Kelly's part
sounds like
here. I
you've
thought it
done
might be me, might be Kelly. I went with
It's
Kelly,
interesting. I think we
and
should
I'm
take
really
it
glad
to
I did.
Green Street.
Partly because I just
Get the Finder
love the height
Street.
difference between the two. Just thought it looked funny.
Just get the heck out of Dodge.
I knew, of
after
course,
that.
it'd be hard to fit John
If
in.
we're wrong, we're
And so I
dead.
thought of this scene, we would just have him eating, that would be easy to do.
Okay.
And then just get him tap a little bit on a phone, and that actually worked. Somehow he actually looks like he's acting. I shot John with the camera pointing up at him a little bit, just to make him a little more menacing. Now his character's name, Mr. Greenstreet, also comes from the movie The Maltese Falcon. The actor that played a character in the movie was named Sidney Greenstreet. The character he played was a guy named Casper Gutman, also
so Mr.
known as the
Greenstreet
Fat Man.
says, hire some
And I
birds.
really like this transition to the next scene.
He said, get people that are quick, slick, and stealth.
Look alive, we got a job.
Hurry up, let's go!
Time!
The music for this scene is called Walking Along.
Wait in the car.
When I first thought of a heist movie, I thought of this upcoming scene
Stay awake!
with somebody stealing the Falcon from our house. I thought about the latex gloves, the snipping of a wire outside to cut cameras, the magnet to open the lock, the
There's
drill
neon
to
lights
flip
aboard in
open
there.
the simple wood dowel lock, and then grabbing the Falcon off the shelf after looking for tripwires and quickly replacing it with something else, then wrapping it in bubble wrap and putting it in a backpack. Finally, once they got outside, the alarm and the red light would start flashing. I didn't know who was going to play these parts yet, and then thought of Sharon and Annette attempting to run
It's locked.
away from an alarm, and that's when I picked them to do the scene because I thought that was going to be really funny.
Still doesn't work.
And then it was kind of a no-brainer to add in Celeste as the getaway driver.
Oh, it's a sippable and dowel lock. I got this.
I wanted to add in a few things here just to add to Mom's character, like her having a weight room in her house, and then of course other things that she would have collected over the years, like a suit of armor.
I don't see any tripwires. Maybe it's. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
I scripted it here to have them run into each other, and they just did a great job. And then Sharon makes this goofy Three Stooges sound as she runs away. The music picks up the pace here, and this number is called Burn the World Waltz. Now Celeste has her own pace.
Wake up! Wake up!
Doing everything, and it's just slow. The music and the action here just comes to a screeching halt as Celeste tries to get ready to drive away. Celeste acted perfectly here.
Let's go! Come on! Punch it, Chewie!
Then Annette used the punch it Chewie line, because they always wanted to get in somewhere. I of course sped up the driving scenes just to the point where it crosses into comical. If you ask Celeste if she could drive, she will tell you, I only drive in the movies.
Okay, let's go see what this thing's worth.
The music for this scene is called Thief in the Night. This is Melanie's only scene, and she always likes a short scene, not much to do, so this is what I gave her. I really like these glasses that she has for reading with the lights on them, so I had to throw those in. I gave Melanie's character the name Crap Game. That comes from a movie called Kelly's Heroes, a Clint Eastwood movie, and the character in the movie was played by Don Rickles. I liked her examination of the Falcon.
It's old, all right.
Tapping her fingers on the table when she's talking.
Do you have any paperwork, documentation?
And her inflection on giving a couple of the words, especially doorstop.
Then we have a decorative brick.
Huh?
A lawn ornament.
What?
Doorstop. There's nothing remarkable about this at all.
I say we unload on Mr. Green Street and get the heck out of Dodge.
Next is a montage of shots with me as a detective looking for the Falcon. This one at my actual desk at work. I gave myself the name Detective Wannabe just because I thought it sounded funny. The background music here is called Funk Game Loop.
Well, Mrs. Jones, we've exhausted all of our current clues, but we will continue on the case.
All right, Detective Wannabe.
Note here that
I've
Mom says she's going
collected
to
a lot of
Shanghai.
things in 93 years.
Remember that for the
But
post-credit
the
scene.
Falcon means the most to me. So I'm going to Shanghai, and I hope that while I'm gone, you can find it for me.
All right, I promise that I'll think of everything possible to get that done.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Some time a while ago, Sharon said that JoJo could read tarot
Hello,
cards.
Madam Shyster.
So I thought right
My name's
away,
Detective
got to throw that
Wonky,
into a movie somewhere.
and I am
It
working
fit
on
in
a cold
perfectly
case
here.
that I can't crack.
I told JoJo to make up
I'm
her
trying
own
to find a
dialogue.
lost Falcon
Just
statue,
pull out whatever cards
and
you
I'm
want.
getting really
Just make the
desperate.
story sound
So
like something was
I'm being
lost or
persistent.
stolen, and that
I'm sure I
a
can
bird
help.
always
Let's see what the
returns to
cards
the
have to
nest.
say.
And she did just that. And it was her idea
The
to
Three
throw
of
in an
Swords.
accent. I
Not
thought
an
it sounded great.
auspicious beginning.
I thought her
There's
character
been,
name of
betrayal.
Madam
Trust
Shyster
has been
was just
broken.
funny. I thought this music fit the scene, and this
Nine of
piece
Pentacles
is called
reversed.
Scheming Weasel.
You've lost something valuable. So far, not much luck, right?
Not yet.
But there is still one more card. See? Four of Wands. Much happier. Whatever you have lost, it will return. The bird always comes back to the nest.
Alright, I don't know if I'm buying that. I think that's impossible. If it flies back on its own, I will come back here and pay you 100 times your regular fee.
Oh, yeah?
I really like this split screen telephone scene. There's excellent acting here.
Double
Watch
A's,
the
private
facial
eye.
expressions
Hi,
by
Johnny.
Andrea
It's Madam
and
Shyster.
Amy.
I've got a job for you and Roby. Actually, more of a favor.
Okay, give it to me.
I need you to make me look good to the cops by stealing back a stolen item.
Not our typical line of work, but I'm in if Roby's cool with it. I'm in. Who are we stealing from?
Well, that's where you might need your detective skills, but word on the street is you can start with a guy named Mr. Greenstreet.
The music changes here to a piece called Spyglass. And this, of course, was filmed at our Kansas City location at this stone mansion. When we first started to look for somewhere to stay in Kansas City, and Melanie and Matt were both looking for places, I think Matt came across this one, and we loved it. Booked it right away, and I thought it would be an
that should
absolutely
disable the
perfect
cameras,
place
but I expect
to
more
film
inside.
some scenes. We did the same wire cutting as we did in an earlier scene. Actually, this one was filmed first, but they were definitely supposed to mirror each other. These two are not wearing gloves. I had brought them with me and just forgot to give them to them. Once we got here, Phil had the idea of doing a long tracking shot as they walked through the house. So I decided that was a really good idea. I walked backwards with the camera while these two followed me, and Phil was holding onto my shirt behind me to make sure that I wouldn't run into anything. We did several takes, but this peeking around the corner is what made me decide on this one. It's long, maybe too long, but I liked it and left it in. In the Alfred Hitchcock film, To Catch a Thief, Cary Grant plays a retired cat burglar, and his name in the movie is John Roby. That's where these two characters get their names, Johnny and Roby. We tried here to make the house look a little bigger than it actually is, and I think we kind of pulled that off. We all really liked this room. We called it the music room because it had the piano, but it looked really cool with the glass domed ceiling with a big light in the middle, and there was bench seatings along the big bay window to the right. It was just a cool room. Beth and Andy's scene was filmed remotely and sent back to me, and we spliced it in here. I think it fits. It looks good. I needed something for them to be talking about, so I just decided to plug our own movies here.
He makes his family members shoot movies on location during their vacations.
Oh, I've seen those. They're really good, especially the outtakes.
Yeah, but like, what kind of monster would just manipulate their family to being on social media like that?
Ugh.
Unrealistic.
Oh, I've seen those. They're really good, so it'll keep him busy for a while.
That's close.
One of the coolest parts about this house is an addition onto the back of it that had this golf practice room in there with turf on the floor. And there were golf clubs in there, a bunch of plastic golf balls, and we played in there for a long time. Now I knew in looking at pictures of the house that this room was there, and that we would film this scene there, and that I would have Phil and Matt playing golf, being security guards, ignoring their job, and just having fun. But I didn't want them to look like just doofuses. I wanted them to be smart guys. They just happened to find a good gig where they could just practice golf all day, kind of ignore their job, and get away with it. So to make them sound smarter, I gave them the conversation about time travel. I knew it was a subject that they would like, and they pulled this off great.
Years in the future. So it depends on how close to the speed of light you traveled or how long you were gone.
I'm with you there. Also then,
and I love this whole conversation, especially with a couple of ad-libs by Phil, and then the fact that Matt actually hits a chip shot into the bucket and kind of bites his lip and doesn't ruin the scene. This was all just perfect.
Time would be different.
Precisely. And you could never travel back to where you started. Especially, like you said, if you get too close to that black hole, get sucked right into the Kuba Blitz, whole universe.
Sucked into the Kuba Blitz? What's that? Better Google it.
Stinks, but their science is pretty good.
Here, the opening scene music called Unwritten Return comes back in.
I don't think Mr. Greenstreet would wire that up. Probably pressurized.
Definitely wireless. There's a laptop over there. I bet we could hack into the system.
I was really happy the way that this turned out with the phone call to Jim and Denise. We filmed Jim and Denise's stuff at Annette's house long before we did this. I wasn't sure how it was going to look when I put it together.
Hello.
But it works.
We need help breaking into a security
Jim's name
system.
was Mr. Anderson,
Not your usual
which
line
came
of work,
from
but I like it.
the movie The Matrix.
Have you gotten in with a password
So
yet?
Denise's name, of course,
Not yet.
from the same
Need
movie.
your help with that too.
Hey Trinity, we need help figuring out somebody's password.
What do you know about this guy?
He's rich, his house is loaded with rare, probably stolen items, but we don't think he actually lives here. His security is really lax and his house guests are pretty inattentive.
Sounds like a guy who would need to leave himself clues to remember his password. Can you pan around the room?
I put in this other reference to our Fallen Treasure movie with this picture
Wait.
of Mount Rundle.
What's that? What's that picture?
Even though that mountain
I
just
recognize this
defeated
mountain.
me.
It's called Ulysse Aiglosa. It's French. It means where eagles dare.
I bet that's it. Eagles. Try eagles.
That is it.
Thanks. Okay, here's what you do. Go to the file manager, look for a file folder called security. It should be sorted by floors and then by rooms. We're gonna get in there and we're gonna disable everything. Motion sensors, door sensors, everything.
Do it.
I put in this cat burglar part just because
Wait.
we had the prop and the characters were named after a cat burglar in a movie.
Well, we are cat burglars now.
This next part was supposed to be a surprise. I hope that it was. Somehow, in one take, we got all 4 kids to turn around and look at the same time.
What you doing?
I stole this. I'm watching her, she's watching her, she's watching her from a movie
Who's watching
somewhere.
who?
But I'm not exactly sure where. I love Cora's uncurling of her
And who are
arm
you
to
watching?
make the point. And Rowan
Who
looks
are
like
you
Dan
watching?
Gable making a stalling call. Charlotte is always watching Luke, so this line had to be in the movie.
She's always watching me.
Someday when Luke is older, I'll have to
no one's
apologize
watching
to
us,
him
right?
for making him do this line so
Well,
many times.
Then carry on.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, right.
Some time ago, Jim sent out this recording of Mom singing Ave Maria. I knew someday we'd put this into a movie. This was certainly the place. It runs a little long here, but because it was Mom singing, I left it in for quite a while. I didn't tell anybody about this. I hope it was a big surprise when everybody, especially Mom, first heard it.
Hello, Mrs. Jones. Somehow this morning, very anonymously, this just showed up at the station.
I'm so happy to have this home again.
Well, I've got to go pay off a debt.
As we watch the credits and listen to this musical piece called Too Cool, which definitely describes our cast, I want to talk a little bit about the long day of shooting at Annette's house. We shot Sharon, Annette, and Celeste scenes out on the patio, as well as some more scenes in the front yard, all of which were delayed by neighbors mowing their yards and making a lot of noise. And then we shot Celeste's driving scene, a couple of scenes for myself and Mom. We shot Jim and Denise when they came over. And then, of course, we shot all of Mom and Kelly's long dialogue. Then finally, we shot Mom's post-credit scene, which we'll get to here in a moment. It was a hard day for everybody, especially for Mom. But she soldiered through it without a complaint, and I must say much better than 99% of all 93-year-olds could possibly do. But I did push it a little bit too far. So this is my big apology to Mom, as well as a really big thank you. This post-credit scene music is called Desert City. Pretty late in the game, I walked into Eric's old room here and saw his samurai sword hanging on the wall. I thought, man, I wanted to put that into a movie somewhere, and so I just thought I would squeeze it in here. It was a long extra scene for Mom, but I'm glad I put it in. I wanted Mom to do this voiceover, but it was just way too late in the day, and I did that myself. For the people that actually have old samurai swords like this or trained with them, the swords are treated with great respect, and that's the point that I was trying to make here. She doesn't even pull it out of the sheath until she has dressed for the occasion, and do everything properly to follow tradition. She pulls it out and it goes through a preset routine, final downstroke to shake blood off your sword. I hope this made Mom look like she knew what she was doing.
Later, the usurper of emperors. And finally, the slayer
I made this to sound like a preview
dragons.
for a future movie that we will definitely never do.
That's a tale for another time.
Well then, there you have it. As a final note, I knew we would be filming in a bunch of different locations with different groups of people, different times, even some of it done remotely and sent back to me. So what I decided to do is not tell everybody the whole story, have everybody do their parts, not knowing exactly how they fit in, and then I thought it'd be more fun to watch the final product. I think that was generally a pretty good idea, but I wouldn't do it again. There were lots of times when I wanted to give more information to people as they were acting, but then didn't. And there were a few times people asked, and I did kind of tell them how things fit in without giving away too much, and it just didn't seem to work out very well. It really made my generally inept directing look even more poor. So, with that lesson learned, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.